What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I know it's been like a couple months since I posted last. So this video is going to be that I'm going to talk about knowing knowing most people who I've known before who passed away. Um anyway, and I'm going to talk about the two movies who I've seen who died at those times. Like, the first one was Bridge to Terabithia. How it was there was two actors of Josh Hutcherson and Anna Sophia Robb. So so in that movie on Bridge to Terabithia, um oh yeah, so Josh Hutcherson was Jess and Anna Sophia was Leslie. Like, oh, so he was Jess Aarons and Leslie Burke. Anyway, on the Bridge to Terabithia, Jess got invited with a teacher who is the actor who I knew Nalay from the Elf movie. That she loves music. She like Jess got invited with that teacher to the museum, since he's never gone to the museum before, but it was his first time at the actual museum. Like went to um they went to the musical museum, I think what it's known of. And as soon as when he got home from the museum where he went with this teacher, he came back in the house. I was like, home, guys. And then one of his siblings just came, just like, was like surprised, like he came in through the door. And I was like, and they was like, they were worried about him. I thought that he was with his best friend Leslie. Um, and then one of them was like, said, oh, I think it was his sibling named Brenda. And it was like, thought you were dead. And then the dad was like, Brenda, hush. And as soon as when he got home, they had to share sad news to Jess, who is Josh Hutcherson. Since when Jess was at a museum, Leslie tried to cross over a tied rope, and the rope broke, and then Leslie was drowning in the creek and drowning in the river somehow, and she died that time. And then somehow Jess tried to go find her somewhere in the Terabithia world, and like she drowned. I think I heard she drowned in like a creek in the river. Like, I believe the rope did break the day after it rained, and then she fell in the water, and she drowned in the creek, and she died that time. And just tried to go look for her, and then I think I think the next following day they went to her celebration of life in her house, and Jess was very down, and that's all. And then later on, when he was running in the Terabithia forest, he tripped and slipped, and then his dad found him laying on the leaf area, and then he cried he was crying of how he lost his friend, and that's all. All right, and next death movie is going to be My Girl, who is Anna Klumsky, which is Veda Sultanfuss, and Thomas J., who is Macaulay Culkin, like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone. So Macaulay Culkin was Thomas J. Sennett, and then at that point, Thomas J. Sennett was getting every allergic reaction. Like, I think he was allergic to chocolate when he was playing Uno with his best friend Veda, and I think it was at Veda's house, I think, and then those girls were stopping by her and making fun of her, and Veda and her boyfriend, and Veda's like, he's not my boyfriend, and then they had some good times together, like when, oh yes, before I get into that, Veda's real mom died at first when she was born, and then they went to her funeral, and she only had her dad named Harry, and then he found a new relationship named, what's her name? What's his new wife's name? Shelley. So Shelley, she had a living van that she drove in, and then Shelley showed Veda and Thomas J. Sennett their living van, and then I think I believe it was Thomas J. who went into that jar and took some out, and then there was only a lot of money in the jar, and then Veda was surprised, and that time she stole her money, and paid like $35 to join in to be a writer, and then I bet Veda refuses to wait to be a writer till when she gets an adult, because writers must have been for adults only, and that's all. And another thing, after doctors, Thomas J. Sennett got a squirt gun, and then surprised Veda. Guess what I got? And then he squirted Veda, and then started chasing Thomas J after to try to squirt him back. And then they went down to the forest, to the woods area. And then Thomas J found something surprising, which was a beehive. And then at first Thomas J was just squirted the beehive, and Veda cared so much about the bee safety. She was like, "Are you crazy? You'll get stung." And then Thomas J just wanted to knock it down, and then picked up some rocks and threw a ton of them and knocked them down. And Veda, and like they were both doing that, and Veda's mood ring fell off, and then she was trying to look for it, but it wasn't a good time because the bees were coming after them. And then Veda was like standing and looked for the bees, and then Thomas J came back quickly and grabbed Veda, and then they ran towards the lake and jumped into the water. And in that time, after when Thomas J and Veda went and did their first kiss, Thomas J went back to the woods and then looked for her mood ring. Like before he found her mood ring, he stepped on a beehive and then looked for the mood ring and then found her mood ring, and then he would not run away from the bees, since he stood there for way too long, and the bees came after him and attacked him, and he died with all the bees, since he was allergic to bees. And then later on, and then I think the insect employee just went to Veda's house and talked about what happened to Thomas J, that he got killed by those bees. And then later on after that, the next day, they had a funeral for Thomas J at Veda's house, and that's it. Anyway, but enough about the movies. The first person in real life who I've known before, like when I started working for Domino's, first person who I knew was one of my coworkers from Domino's, who was a day shifter for delivery drivers. His name was Jay, and then when he first started having problems, I think he tripped on the stairs and fell and like injured himself. Like, depends how he injured himself. And he went to the hospital, and he had to have us donate him some money, and that's all. And then he got sick a lot, and then he was going to go into heart surgery, and then he couldn't make it to heart surgery because he just came to an end in the middle of the night with a heart attack, since the next day in the morning his roommate called for him, and then went into his room, and then I think he did like a CPR on him, and then found out later that he was dead, and he was not waking up, and he called 911, and he officially died. And the next person after my old co-worker from Domino's was my grandpa's sister, who was connected with the oxygen breathing tube. She had so many falls. Like, she used to drive, and she had to stop driving because of being on breathing recovery of the oxygen, and that's all. And she was really old, and she lived in Idaho, I think Twin Falls, Idaho, and then that time I was at work. My mom had to call me, and then it wasn't the right time to answer because I just showed up to the customer's house, and then I text her, "What do you need?" And then she had told me that she just died in September of 2023. How she had a lot of problems, and that's all. And the next person who died, who I knew of, which was my baseball teammate, Jordan Bodger. He loved to play baseball, and he had a seizure, and some days after my birthday, when I turned 23, one of the family members flew in and then helped out the family, and then Jordan and Bodger just fell off the bed, and his life just came to an end when the seizure got him. And before I heard that Jordan died, this baseball teammate who wouldn't be able to walk himself or anything, who had to be in a motorized wheelchair, Austin Cover, I think he told me that he had a friend who spent a night at his house, and then the next day, that morning, he has died, and he was kind of sad for that, and that's all. And then we had a celebration of life of Jordan, and that's all. And the next person who I knew who died after Jordan was my Grandma Mary on my mom's side, since I never talked about her on this new channel yet. So, right before Thanksgiving, when I heard that she was falling a lot, the doctors had to make a difficult decision to put her into Lou Gehrig's disease, into ALS, and then they had to have her to not walk or drive anymore, or go anywhere on her own anymore, and she had to have someone with him. And my grandpa had to quit his job to retire to take care of his wife, which was my grandma Mary on my mom's side. Since they put her in Lou Gehrig's disease right before Thanksgiving, and she had her last Thanksgiving and Christmas with us, and then so Lou Gehrig's disease is when you have muscle weakness and that your muscles are completely done for your life, and it gives you a breathing problem. And then as far as I knew she was gonna die fast with Lou Gehrig's disease, and like compared to how she died in earlier January and late January, she was eating her snacks, one of her nuts, and then she choked on a mucus with her snacks, and then I think when I was at the gym, that had blocked her breathing, and then that legitimately killed her. And right after, when I got out of the gym, I called my dad on the way home, And as soon as when he answered, I felt like he was disconnected and stuff like that. Oh wait, before that, my mom had to call me, that they needed my help, which wasn't a good time for me to help because I was at work. Hopefully they figure out everything to get her on a comfortable cushion chair. And then right after when I got out of the gym, I called my dad. I didn't realize that he was crying, and then he has told me that my grandma on my mom's side just died later that night. Since I was gonna go home and eat my dinner, but I had to go to my grandpa's and say goodbye to my first grandma. And as soon as when I got there, the fire truck was there and some of the police, and then I never saw my grandpa cry before, my grandpa Don cry before, but it was shocking to see him cry, and it was shocking to see my dad cry too. And my grandma was right on the cushion dead, and cushion chair in the master bedroom dead, and then the way I saw her dead, frightening. And then that's all. And yep. And then the funeral van had to take 45 minutes when it was 45 plus minutes when it was getting late. I didn't have any time to wait for that, and I had to go home and get ready for bed, and that's all. And oh yeah, and after my grandma back in 2024, my first grandma, one of my YouTubers, Jesse Ridgway's Aunt Jackie, died on Easter. Died on Easter on April 1st. She had a clot in her leg, and she was in the hospital for a long time, and then it traveled up to her heart, and then that just ended her life. And then his Aunt Jackie was a happy lady, and she was into creating merch with her sister, which is his mother, Terry. And then Jesse made a post that they were all very devastated how she just passed away with a blood clot that just traveled up to her heart in the hospital. And before his Aunt Jackie died, his Uncle Chris on his dad's side died with COVID getting into him, that just had to stop his breathing, and he died in 2021 with the coronavirus getting into him like COVID. And then one of his grandparents died during the pandemic, and that's all. And then and nothing else I knew about Jesse other than his longtime living dog, which was his parents' dog, who was John, which was, they pronounce his character name Poopy John, which is kind of funny. John lived a long time, and the thing about John is that he had to go into surgery, and Jesse's parents, every time when he needed to get up to go to somewhere else, they had to have a cloth on both of their hands, and then lift him up off the floor, and walked around, and then his dog, and then their dog died. Their dog just came to an end back in just about the middle of December of last year, 2025. And of course their other dog, Luna, which was a black dog. Luna's living a long time, and I'm sure Luna's still healthy, and that's all. And I hope Luna's doing fine, and that's all. And the other dog, who's now their older son Jeffrey, and his wife's dog Kate. I hope Kate's doing well, and of course the funniest thing is that McJuggernuggets, who's Jesse Ridgway, just called Kate Scamp and stuff like that as soon as when he went to his new house for the first time to talk with them, since it's been a while since the pandemic. And that's all. Oh yeah, before Jesse's parents' dog John died, my grandma BJ on my dad's side fell apart regularly last year. That she died on the 25th of April, on a day when I broke my leg. She lived a long life, and long full life, and she was 87 when she died, and that's all. And after my grandma BJ, my grandpa Ray on my mom's side, he was playing bridge, and then gone the horrible feeling that his head was hurting, and then just fell right to sleep, and then he had to go to the hospital one night, and the next day I visited him in the hospital, and then the next day he died the other night, since he had a hemorrhagic stroke, which is I had to go say goodbye to him at the Levine home, where he was in hospice, and we had his funeral at Brophy. And he died kind of young too. He was 79, and my first grandma, which was Grandma Mary, was 77 when she died. And now there's two more I want to add, which is my grandparents' dog, after my Grandpa Ray, Ruby. She lived a long time, since she was 14 years old. Oh wait, before I get into Ruby, I'm gonna mention about my cousin's dog, Snoop, who is an old dog. When they first moved into the new house, like Josh and his wife and the kids moved into their new house, and like off of like somewhere in North Scottsdale, like something like that. So their gate was left open, and then Snoop went out through the backyard to the front yard, and then Snoop was very deaf, and he just went to the street and ran off their property, and he got hit by a car and died, since he was like 13 and stuff like that. And my other dog, and the other dog who I've known, Ruby, who was half Jack Russell Terrier and half Border Collie. She had Cushing disease and pancreatitis. And the last thing is my 11th birthday present cat, which was a girl, and her name was Lainey. She was 15 and a half, and she still is, and she fell apart regularly, and then she started to have a shaking problem and have a complaint, and then she died in February, and that's all. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share, and that's all, and hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please like and subscribe, and have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.